All right, so what we're doing here is we're going to swap the battery out of this Verifone, or otherwise it's Powervar is the brand. This is the unit we're going to take the battery out of and replace because there's been some issues with this squealing at them, and most likely it's the battery that's the problem. So the first thing you do is you take the cover off here. It's totally detachable, just fits into a little tab on the bottom there when we put it back. But you can see you have two screws here, and then this wire that connects. It'll pull off these pegs, and I can disconnect this, and it's no longer connected to the battery, but because the store has power right now, you're not killing anything at all. So the power is still good. So this is I don't want to say safe, but you can do this when the power's still on. The reason I don't want to unplug anything for this right now is because this whole entire shelf, you got 4 outlets on the back of this battery backup unit, plus one of them has this surge protector strip. So it's got your FortiGate, your Applause, your BRCM, your Commander, your FCI, your primary modem, your 4G. Everything under the sun that controls what's going on in the store here is plugged into this unit, so I want to make sure that nothing goes down if I can help it. So if I unscrew the second door here, or second screw, get the door off. So I get this out of the way. You can see, here's my battery. I just pull on this label, and there's your battery. So you can see this says Powervar, which is the brand I was talking about. This is the original battery I know that they typically come with. So I have a replacement battery right here that I just bought at Batteries Plus or Interstate Batteries. And then what I'm going to do, take these terminal covers off, take the old one, and it's just, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do this here, but you just pull these off, because you can see they're just tabs on both batteries. So if I can get this off, there we go. Okay, so I got the wiring harness off. Simple stuff, black to black, red to red. You can see the terminals are marked. And then this will cross over like it was on the old one. You don't need these foam things like they have on the old battery. It's nice to have because it'll just keep the wire in place, but it's not a necessity. So at this point, I want to put the new battery back in where the old one was. And then you can see it has these two little tabs. There's some slots here that they fit into. Put the wire inside that little hole there. And put these screws back into place. And if these are too tight, there is a Phillips head on them. You can use a screwdriver to undo them, but they don't need to be super tight or anything. And then plug this back together, put that back in the pegs, then that little lip goes down here, put that back into place, and then I'll show you more on this on a different unit we can get on top. We'll go up to one of the register ones so that way we can see what this kind of stuff indicates on the different units. Alright, so this is the same unit but up by the registers. So you can see up top there's a legend here that has fault, power, and battery, and then it gives you the status whether it's open is off, solid's on, and then the star is flashing. What that's referring to is these front ones here where you have a little squiggly line, so you can see that corresponds with power. The battery indicator's off, and then the fault indicator's off as well. That marker above it, where it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, that is basically telling you how much battery draw is needed for this unit because of what's plugged into the back. So if I pull this out, you can see there's 4 outlets on the back of that. I'll go to the side here. And I usually plug in, since this is under register, this is going to have your Ruby 2, which is labeled right there. This one I know is your pin pad, this one. And then this right here, I don't know if that's labeled or not.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah, it says 4 to switch. Okay, I wanted to do another still frame here. This is just to show the back of the unit without anything plugged into it, so that way you can see the 4 outlets that are available on each one of these units. The ground plug is at the top, so a lot of times these are upside down. Depending on what you have to plug in, since some plugs are much larger and they have the transformer at the base of the unit where the prongs are at, you may not be able to use all 4 of these. The orange outlet, it's the same on like a wall outlet. If it's orange, it's supposed to indicate protected, I guess. So it's like a surge protector that's built in. Some of your stores may have those orange outlets around. Just know that those are designed for basically like a surge protector that's built in. I don't know how well they work, but that's what the color indicates. I will note here at the top there is a site wiring fault that it's like an LED light that lights up. I hardly ever see that on, so it's not necessarily going to indicate whether there's a problem or not. If there is one, it may not be lit up, is what I'm saying. The RJ11 port is for like a phone plug type cable. It says no telecommunication connection, meaning that you can't like modem into this or, you know, any kind of like data transfer. It doesn't work like that. What this is for is to basically send proprietary signals to the unit itself. The same with that USB Type B. That's what that trident is on the side. That trident is like a universal symbol for USB. This Type B is just a different type. It's usually used on like printers and such. We can use that. I just choose not to because all that's available to do is you have to have a USB connection to a computer, and because that cord would be unbelievably long, the only benefit to having that plugged in is if you want to be able to shut something down remotely. I don't know if you can do particular outlets or not. Haven't messed with it that much, but the caveat to that is once you shut it down, you can't turn it back on remotely. You have to have somebody on site to push the button. Otherwise, we probably would try to use this in certain situations. So it's just a way to like gracefully shut things down, and you can program it so, you know, certain outlets will go down before others, that sort of thing. Sometimes I do use this button at the bottom, which is just like it's like a GFCI outlet. So you can press that if you want to try to reset something that's wrong. It's not necessarily going to work, but it's worth a shot. There is a fuse behind that. I've rarely seen those go bad as well, so I don't usually mess with that. And then below that is the cord that goes to the plug, and that's where you plug it into the wall. So just to touch on all those things, I guess right in the middle the label says Powervar. That is the company brand or the Amatec. I don't know which is which, but Powervar seems to be the one that most people go by. Anyway, that's what we have most commonly at stores for battery backups, just because they were purchased with the Verifone equipment. All 4 of these outlets are all on battery backup. There is no surge-only outlets on this unit at all. Alright, so there's a couple things I wanted to touch on here. So I'm going to do a freeze frame of the legend on top of the Powervar here. I wanted to indicate the status indicators. So going from left to right, you have fault, which is the caution sign, power, which is kind of the squiggly like tilde, and then icon for a battery that's for the battery. The indicators here show either a circle that is empty, which means off, a circle that is filled, which means on, or an asterisk, which is blinking. And then you just basically match that up to each one of the indicators. So
If the fault is either off, on, or blinking, same with the power, same with the battery, you go across the line, that will tell you what the status is. So if all three of those are off, that means the unit's off. If all of them are off except for power, and that's just straight on and not blinking, that means it's normal, meaning it is on, it's plugged in, it's on, and the battery is charging. And so on down the list. So those are the two most normal statuses. If you're going to see some kind of error, it's usually that it's not detecting the battery needs to be replaced, there's an overload, or it's on battery only, like it's not knowing that it's plugged in. So there are some other errors, but it's not likely you're going to see those. I just wanted to point those out, and then we'll just go back to the video.
Okay, here's an example of a battery backup being erratic. You can see how it shoots up the draw real quick, meaning those 4 icons right here on the top, and then that light lights up, which according to the legend, since that's solid, and then that one will turn flashing. So let's see if there's, okay, yeah, so it says on battery power when that's flashing and that's solid. So I'm not exactly sure why that's cycling back and forth, but usually the best fix for something like this. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the battery out on this and see if that fixes the issue. The other thing I want to note here is these are both labeled because they're the same power bricks for the printer and the Ruby 2, so that's why we labeled them. If I go on the back side of this, you can see I have pin pad. P400 is the secondary pin pad, and then these are not labeled, so I'm going to fix that, but I'm guessing one is the register and the other one is likely the changer because I'm not seeing another plug or something of that nature, but we'll figure that out in a second. Okay, so I've now traced back to where these are all used. The pin pad and the P400, which is the external drive-through pin pad, were already labeled. These two are the receipt printer and the register power, which are these 2 bricks that are already labeled, but now we know they're going to the battery backup. I think all that is valid. The remaining things that we don't have plugged in here are going to be like our coin changer, which I believe is up here in this wall outlet. Obviously we have a whole other surge protector here with like phone stuff, handheld dock, that sort of thing. Also wanted to make note, the reason I was called is because this pin pad keeps rebooting and this register keeps rebooting. There's the secondary pin pad. I'm sure the printer's doing the same thing, but basically everything that's plugged into that battery backup is shutting off and turning back on. So we got to fix that problem before we can fix any of this. That's the cause of all this. Okay, so now on this battery backup, you can see I took the old battery out that was purchased May of 2022. I had that date stamped. This is the new one I just put in, August of 2023. And the light is on. Everything is connected. I haven't put the battery back in because I just wanted to test this, but it seems to be doing okay. It's been plugged in for about 5 minutes now. Okay, so now that's the empty portion where the battery is supposed to go in the battery backup. Like I said, I have this all hooked up. So I'm going to put this back into place. Oh, I did that wrong. Goes this direction. That's because I touched both terminals to metal. Not advised. Alright, so put this door back in place. Grab the 2 screws. There's one. There's 2. Put this back on the pegs if I could get that wire in there. There we go, so you can see it's on the pegs. Then I put this lip right underneath, flip that back, and you can see all the indicators are good. So now that's basically showing 1 out of 4 for power pulling, and the middle one's the only one that's solid, the rest are off, which that indicates off, solid, off. It's on, AC battery is charging. So we are where we want to be.